What is a banknote? A historical review of the origins, evolution, function, and meaning of paper money. At first glance, a banknote appears to be a simple object, a piece of paper, or, in some countries, a polymer note, bearing a number, a monetary denomination, images, and a series of security features. Yet behind this everyday object lies a long history of trade, banking, states, technology, inflation, and economic power. The banknote did not simply emerge as a paper version of the coin. It developed as a practical solution to problems involving the transport, storage, and transfer of money, and eventually became one of the fundamental instruments of the modern economy. This review follows that development from its earliest predecessors to the modern banknote, with particular attention to its origins and to the transformation that allowed a simple document to represent a monetary value and circulate as a means of payment. Before banknotes, when money had weight. To understand why banknotes appeared, we must first return to a time when money was primarily physical and, in many cases, metallic. Coins made of gold, silver, copper, or other metals served as means of payment, units of account, and stores of value. Their great advantage was that the object itself had an accepted material value. Their disadvantage was equally obvious. Large sums could become heavy, difficult to transport, and expensive to protect. For major commercial transactions, moving large quantities of coins was a serious practical problem. Trust in a coin also depended on more than its appearance. Its weight, metal content, and the authority that had issued it all mattered. The growth of merchants, money changers, bankers, and deposit institutions gradually created an alternative. Instead of physically transporting all the metal, people could use a document representing a claim to that money. The earliest paper money traditions in China. The history of paper money is much older than the European banknote. In China, forms of paper-based monetary instruments appeared centuries before paper money became established in Europe. Their development was closely connected with a highly active commercial economy and with the practical difficulties involved in transporting large quantities of metal coins. During the Tang Dynasty, documents were used to facilitate the transfer of money, and later, more developed forms of paper currency appeared. During the 11th century, under the Song Dynasty, the jiaozi became one of the most important early examples of organized paper money. Paper could represent monetary value without requiring the physical movement of all the coins associated with a transaction. The Chinese experience established a fundamental principle. Money does not have to be made from the same material as the value it represents. A piece of paper can function as money when a system recognizes it, and, above all, when people trust that it will be accepted. A turning point in Europe. Sweden, 1661. In Europe, one of the decisive moments came in Sweden in 1661. Johann Palmstruch, founder of Stockholm's Banco, promoted the issue of what are generally regarded as the first true European banknotes. The economic context was particularly important. Sweden made extensive use of large copper coins that could be extremely heavy and inconvenient for everyday transactions. At first, the bank issued certificates connected with deposits. Palmstruch then introduced an important innovation. The so-called credit notes could be issued as loans and used to make payments. They were no longer merely private receipts proving that someone had deposited coins. They were beginning to function as a means of payment in their own right. The experiment initially succeeded, but it also revealed one of the great dangers of paper money. The bank issued more notes than its reserves could safely support. When the public lost confidence and demanded its money, the bank could not meet all those demands. Stockholm's Banco collapsed. The Swedish experience left a lesson that would remain relevant for centuries. The quantity of money issued and confidence in the institution behind it are fundamental. England and the development of the modern banknote. Another decisive step took place in England. Before modern banknotes appeared, goldsmiths and bankers in London stored gold and silver belonging to their customers and issued receipts. These documents could eventually be used in payments because transferring a receipt was easier than physically moving the metal. When the Bank of England was founded in 1694, it began issuing documents representing deposits and containing promises of payment. Early Bank of England notes were handwritten and did not necessarily have the fixed denominations familiar today. A clerk could write the amount appropriate to the transaction. Over time, Printing made it possible to standardize denominations and greatly expand the production of notes. The words "promise to pay" are particularly important for understanding the evolution of the banknote. In its early stages, the document represented a right to receive a specified amount of metallic money. The paper itself was not considered valuable. Its value came from what the issuing institution promised to deliver. From receipt to money, this was one of the most remarkable transformations in monetary history. A document that originally served as a receipt could begin to circulate among people. If the recipient trusted that the bank would honor the document, the note could be accepted as payment and later passed on to someone else. The banknote therefore acquired one of its defining characteristics: circulation. People no longer needed to visit a bank, withdraw coins, carry them somewhere else, and deposit them again. The document itself allowed a claim on money to be transferred from one person to another. As banking and financial systems developed, this relationship became increasingly sophisticated. Governments became involved in the regulation and issuance of money. Central banks gained greater importance, and metallic currency gradually ceased to be the sole foundation of monetary systems. What makes a banknote different from a coin? Coins and banknotes perform many of the same monetary functions, but they are fundamentally different objects. A coin is generally a metallic piece, whereas a banknote is a monetary document printed or manufactured on a flexible substrate. The essential difference is not simply the material, but the history of how value is assigned to each form of money. In a traditional precious metal coin, an important part of its value could be related to the metal itself. In a modern banknote, however, the physical material is worth very little compared with the denomination printed on it. A high-value banknote is not valuable because of its paper. It is valuable because society accepts that it represents a particular amount of money. The Great Change. From metallic backing to trust for centuries, banknotes were connected in different ways to precious metals, especially gold and silver. Under certain monetary systems, the holder could demand conversion of a note into a specified quantity of metal. This relationship helped explain why the document possessed value. As monetary systems evolved, fixed convertibility into precious metals gradually disappeared. Modern banknotes are generally fiat money. Their value does not come from the promise of a fixed amount of gold or silver, but from confidence in the monetary system, the issuing authority, and the continued ability of the currency to be accepted in transactions. This explains a point that can seem paradoxical. A banknote may have a face value of thousands of monetary units, even though producing the physical note costs only a small fraction of that amount. Its value is institutional and social. It exists because people trust that other people will accept it as well. The banknote as an instrument of the state. As modern states consolidated their financial systems, banknotes acquired another important function. Besides facilitating payments, they became expressions of political authority. The issuer might be a central bank, a state-authorized bank, or another institution legally empowered to put currency into circulation. This is why banknotes so often feature national symbols, coats of arms, portraits of historical figures, monuments, animals, landscapes, and events considered important to a country. A banknote is therefore not only an economic instrument. It can also serve as a small piece of national identity, historical memory, and sometimes political messaging. Design and security. The battle against counterfeiting. The widespread circulation of money inevitably created another problem: counterfeiting. From the earliest banknotes onward, people attempted to reproduce them fraudulently. As paper money became more important, issuers developed increasingly sophisticated methods to make imitation difficult. Modern banknotes may include watermarks, security threads, color-shifting inks, microprinting, raised printing, latent images, ultraviolet features, serial numbers, transparent windows, and other technologies. Some countries also use polymer rather than traditional cotton-based paper. Design therefore has two simultaneous purposes. It must make the denomination easy to recognize, while also making the note difficult to counterfeit. This is why modern banknotes can be considered highly specialized products of graphic and security technology. The banknote as a historical document for collectors. The banknote has another dimension. Each specimen can provide information about the period in which it was issued, who governed the country, which symbols were considered important, which historical figures were celebrated, what languages were used, and what monetary system was in place. Banknotes can also document periods of crisis. Wars, revolutions, changes of government, occupations, independence movements, and extreme inflation often leave visible traces on paper money. Emergency issues, enormous denominations, and temporary designs can reveal how a society responded to extraordinary economic and political circumstances. Inflation. When the printed number loses its meaning, one of the clearest demonstrations of the relationship between money and confidence occurs during periods of inflation. When the quantity of money grows much faster than the production of goods and services, or when confidence in a currency is severely damaged, the purchasing power represented by banknotes can fall. In extreme cases, governments may issue notes with increasingly large denominations. For collectors, such notes are particularly fascinating because they reveal a striking contradiction. The number printed on the note may be enormous while its actual purchasing power is very small. The history of paper money contains countless examples of this contrast. A banknote can represent economic stability and confidence, but it can also become a physical witness to a financial crisis. From paper to polymer and beyond, banknotes did not remain limited to traditional paper. During the 20th century, and especially toward its end, various countries began experimenting with synthetic materials. Polymer banknotes offer advantages in durability and can incorporate security features that are difficult to reproduce using conventional methods. At the same time, advances in printing, computing, and optical technologies completely transformed the appearance of banknotes. Modern notes are highly specialized products involving historians, artists, designers, security experts, printers, and monetary authorities. Does the banknote have a future? The growth of cards, electronic transfers, digital wallets, and other payment methods has reduced the use of cash in many parts of the world. This does not necessarily mean that banknotes have disappeared. Cash continues to provide characteristics that many people value. It can be used without requiring a digital account for every transaction. It does not depend on the same electronic infrastructure, and it allows payments to be made directly. Even in an increasingly digital world, the banknote retains one unique quality. It is money that can be held. Its physical existence allows a society to see, preserve, and study a tangible representation of its monetary system. Conclusion: much more than a piece of paper, a banknote is, at its core, a monetary instrument whose value depends on the acceptance and confidence surrounding it. But that definition alone does not tell the whole story. Its history brings together trade, banking, technology, politics, economics, art, and culture. From the early Chinese traditions of paper money to the first European banknotes, from bankers' receipts to sophisticated modern notes, the central principle remained remarkably consistent. A document can represent value and circulate as a means of payment when a community recognizes and trusts it. That is why, when we hold a banknote in our hands, we are not simply holding a piece of paper. We are holding the result of centuries of monetary evolution. Its number represents value. Its images represent history. Its security features represent the constant struggle against counterfeiting. And its acceptance represents something even more fundamental: the collective trust that allows money to function.